So first and foremost, I think our chair would like to open the meeting with a couple remarks. Chair.
Yes, are you going? Okay. Hi, how you doing? On behalf of Darren, Gabrielle, and everyone at the Mayor's Fund, I'd like to thank you all for helping us reach new heights in 2016. We've accomplished so much, and I'm particularly grateful to the fund for Connections to Care, which is one of the great early success stories of 2016. Through Connections to Care, we're bringing high quality, culturally competent mental health treatment into our trusted CBOs, and I've actually seen it at work. I had an opportunity to visit Project Hope and the Northern Manhattan Improvement Corporation, and let me tell you, this is very impressive. I can't, it's very hard to describe how moved I was to talk to staff and to people who went to who were at the CBOs, talk about how it's changed their life, how it's transformed the work that they do, because now they are able to actually console their clients in a way that makes the work that they do more successful. So they're very appreciative, and it's working. It's actually working. It's always good to see. I'm also excited to welcome a new board member whose skill set lines up perfectly with our goals, Mindy Tarlow, Director of the Mayor's Office of Operations. Everyone, please welcome her. Mindy brings nearly 3 decades of experience to government and not-for-profit work that we do to this table, and I know she'll be a great addition to our team, so welcome again.
Thank you so much.
Terrific. Well, thrilled to have you. Thank you. So to start our business for the day, thank you for those remarks. Can I have a motion to accept and approve our minutes from our last meeting, May 5th?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Terrific. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Terrific. The motion carries. So to get onto our work for this meeting, I'm going to start by drawing your attention to the first item at hand, which is approval of executing a contract with the U.S. Soccer Foundation. This is a construction contract for services to help us build 50 soccer fields in relation to our city soccer initiative that's being launched in partnership with Adidas, the U.S. Soccer Foundation, the New York City Football Club, and the Mayor's Fund. It's a $3 million project, and we're contracting with U.S. Soccer Foundation to help us build the fields. They do this around the country, and so they actually bring both support for the project and some great know-how to it. So at this point, I will ask if there are any questions about the item.
How long will it take till they're up and running and people are kicking balls around?
Yeah, so here's what's amazing. The format they have, they can build a play space between 3 and 6 weeks, because what you're using is a sports coating on top of asphalt. So if you find some clean asphalt, you can lay down sports coating, put in some goalposts and fencing, and it's done. So we're hoping to do 10 a year for the next 5 years. Yeah.
It's great.
And let me just say, actually, Tom, to that point, for us, the dedicated play spaces is important, but the project includes funding for 10,000 after-school spots for an evidence-based soccer programming. So it's programming that actually came up through the Social Innovation Fund, and proven some great results around both health outcomes and mentorship and youth development outcomes. So it was actually that attracted us more to the project than the fields themselves. But having clean, shiny, bright, new, dedicated space was something that I felt.
And the fields can be used, obviously, multi-purpose outside of this mentorship program that we're working with. They'll be at schools, they'll be in neighborhoods, and available.
It's very cool.
For folks.
It's really cool.
I move that we adopt the resolution.
Terrific.
Second.
Oh, terrific. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Terrific. The motion carries. The next item is a little bit of housekeeping. We need to approve a contract for our auditor for the 2016 year. This is something that had been approved by our Audit and Finance Committee, so we'd get started with the work, but we bring everything to the board for final action. This is with RSM, formerly McGladrey. They've done our services for the past several years, and they are, for better or for worse, extremely diligent. But they've been doing some good work, so we're staying with them at this point.
And I'm sorry, how many years have they been our auditor?
At least 2 or 3, 3 or 4.
8.
8, got it. So at least for as long as I've been around, and it sounds like for several years before that. All right.
Is there a policy to bid these things over a certain amount of time, or do we?
We don't have one, we haven't, but it's something that we can explore. And it's actually, we've been trying to figure out how to, with all of our professional services, seeking some other options in the marketplace. So we're happy to do that. At this point, I don't mind if you want to say anything on.
Gracie Mansion did a bid over the summer, and I sat in on a few of those meetings just to hear and looked at their proposals, just to do that, but we still decided.
And we are sharing professional services with the other funds, you know. There's several other funds looking, Fund for Housing, Fund for Health. So we just met last week and discussed, everyone's gonna share information.
About
maybe
audits
about
specifically?
audits, lawyers, professional services.
Right, 'cause I
Those
think
two.
in general, there is a best practice about
Yeah.
rotating. It could also even be rotating like the senior person within the firm who has the
That
audit.
has
That does,
happened.
right,
So that is something to do, but that's interesting, just to get that kind of, you know, and it's a double-edged sword, because on one hand, building experience with one firm that kind of knows the nuances of stuff is there, but getting a different set of eyes is also valuable. All right, that's something we can pursue for the next year, for sure. Terrific question, thank you. Can I get a motion to move the resolution?
So moved.
Seconded?
Second.
Terrific. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Terrific. That motion carries. The next item is with regard to Carnegie Hall, is that right? And our Neon Arts program. So for those not familiar, the Neon Arts program is a terrific project of the Department of Cultural Affairs and the Department of Probation.
Sorry, Darren, I think you, am I wrong that you skipped connections to care? E-civic?
Oh, that should have been pulled from your events. It didn't require board action.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I probably pulled that in the materials.
Back to me on.
Yes. So the neons are these are place-based projects, centers that hub together different opportunities for youth, focused on youth in the probation and criminal justice, coming out of the criminal justice system, but it's providing all sorts of different types of supports and benefits for them. The Carnegie Hall Corporation has been a partner with Department of Probation and Cultural Affairs for the past several years, and this is a renewal of their contract going forward. If I know the First Lady's visited a Neon, I think Gabrielle was with her at the time, I'm sure, which, yeah, if you haven't experienced it, I'd suggest going. It's a really, they are fantastic places where some really powerful work is happening.
So I'll move the motion.
Terrific. Can I have a second?
Second.
Terrific. All those in favor? All those opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. The next item is with regard to our project with Redstone Strategy Group. This is a contract for $700,000 to support our emergency food improvement and strategic food policy initiatives that Barbara Turk is running. Redstone has been partnering with us and Helmsley Corp., who's been funding this initiative. And this is to both implement an action plan, identify outcomes, policies, and advance partnerships. The idea here is trying to create a collective impact among the 3 or 4 primary food service organization nonprofits here in the city.
Move the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries. This next item, again, is another one that's been, has been approved by our Audit and Finance Committee. This was to engage Harris Rand Lusk for some executive search needs that we had last year. It had been approved by our Audit and Finance Committee last year. Again, we're bringing it to the board just to, for a belt and suspenders on this. They actually are continuing to work with us for some of our development needs for our development team as we try to build that up. So in fact, it was a year-long contract. They're still working with us. But this is really to approve the action taken by our Audit and Finance Committee back in May, I believe.
And what was the selection process?
We solicited we must have had 7, 8 bids, 6, 7 bids. When we-
Before maintenance.
Got it. We had reached out to several firms asking for bids and approvals, I think at least 5 or 6 that I had on record. And this was a group that came in, both lowest bid and was most familiar with the kind of nonprofit
Space.
government space, so it was a double benefit.
And these are both empty positions right now?
It was an empty position that they were looking to fill for our director of development, and they
Or
were.
was?
Exactly, so they helped us fill it.
Okay.
And then, and they're actually, as it turns out, our director of development is gonna be moving on at the end of this year again. It's still within the contract period in which
Okay,
they
so
have
we
been
need a
working
new
with us.
one.
Well, so this is approving a contract that had already been put in
Understood.
place, but it's actually still in effect, they're still helping us.
And there will be an opening.
There will be an opening coming up December 30th.
What's the pay for that kind of a job?
That's 135 to 155, depending on experience. But
And
it's a
also
senior-
fulfill the deputy director
Yes.
of the Center for Youth
Yeah.
Employment, who is in that position now.
Correct, that was the second position that they were fulfilling.
Who we met for the development director job.
Yeah, so for this, yes, exactly. So this was for sort of our executive team, so director level. All of our positions we post on all the city sites. We work with the appointments office. We work with pretty much the broad network that we can to fulfill it. But this was one that we were just, development is a very, development in the nonprofit space is a tricky role to fill.
Yeah.
So we were working on that to help us.
I'll move it.
Terrific. Second?
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Terrific, the motion carries. And this last action is a consultant service agreement contract. Again, this is something that we had brought to our Audit and Finance Committee for approval during the summer. It was for consultative services, helping with communications and branding, around messaging and media campaigns. What we were trying to do with this position, and let me just say at the outset that again, we're acting on a position that we've since actually parted ways with this consultant, but I just wanted everyone to be aware. What we were trying to do with this was work with a consultant to try to leverage how Shalane, how the First Lady, how Gabrielle, some of our board could best be utilized to leverage what we're doing and to bring attention and resources and raise the profile of some of this work. So that was the hope and the goal. We actually had a great candidate, just I think where she was situated didn't work out great, but again, belt and suspenders, want to make sure that we got approval from our Audit and Finance Committee, even though the contract's ended, wanted to bring it here to make sure the board had approval for our records.
Move that we ratify the resolution.
I'm sorry?
Move that we ratify the resolution.
Second.
Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Terrific, the motion carries. So that's those are board actions. The last thing I want to draw your attention to, and just sort of have any questions or conversations about our financials. These are, right now, the first page of your financials lays out our net assets as of December 6th. It's pretty much on track with where we've been the last several years in terms of both what we have in our JP Morgan and our operating and our program budgets, as well as what we have under management with Alliance Bernstein. The one thing I'll note for the year ahead, and specifically for Gabrielle and Henry, who have been part of our finance and audit team, is doing more to explore how we can put that 17 million to work through a little bit of a different diversification with those guys. We've had a couple side conversations with Alliance, so that's something that we're really going to pursue in 2017. I will say we did take a big step this last year in even getting that back under management, which had been sitting idle for most of 2015. So that was, I think, a positive step for all of us. We'll see where the markets go over the next couple of years. It will be interesting times, as the mayor said.
Yes.
The next page, I think, just gives you, we always like to give you a little bit of historic context about where our year is ending in comparison to past years with the mayor's fund. Other than a couple of our outlier years in 2012 and 2013, I think the 24 to 25 million we're going to end the year with is pretty much right on track with where the fund's been in the past. You know, as folks will recall, we tend to raise money based on the needs we have on hand, and so it's not that we're going out there raising as much as we can and deploying it. We're really much more strategic in what are the needs we're hearing from our agency partners or you guys as a board for what we're pursuing, and we go out and try to meet that goal. So to me, the number is kind of less relevant than are we fulfilling the needs of the priorities that we set, and to that we are. So, but it's still nice to see a little. I know this is where the media judges us and where others judge us.
Do the donors change over time?
The donors? Was that the question?
Yeah, do they change, or, I mean, I'm sure there's some change, but I mean,
You think, you know,
if you're missing 20, 25 million a year, is there shifting going on?
Gabrielle and I spend our days exploring new donors and new opportunities. And I think the incredible thing about the Mayor's Fund and Mindy and others and Rich who've worked a lot in nonprofits can speak to this. We have a rare opportunity because our individuals and groups who find this work compelling is almost 306 degrees. If you are here in New York and you love our city, these are projects that you find compelling because they're going to advance our city and the key needs we have. If you're a funder in an area supporting criminal justice or social services or mental health or healthcare or youth development, there are projects that we're doing that you can find a home and a partner in. So the challenge tends to be more prioritizing who we're having those meetings with.
And the match.
Yeah, and just introducing more folks to what we're doing. So we try to bring more partners in all the time. We've actually had a pretty neat couple months with exploring some new partnerships with folks who've never been part of the Mayor's Fund, hadn't been aware of it despite 20 years of work in the space. But then you have others, Robin Hood, Altman, New York State Health Foundation, New York Community Trust, some of the bank foundations that have been, they found their way to the Mayor's Fund, they saw the impact of the work, and they keep coming back and investing with us.
And I think that, I will brag a little, I think that we did our legwork and our groundwork for 2.5 years. We were new administration and we're following those that were committed and well-known in philanthropy in this space, and what would we do and how would we do it, and what's the Office of Strategic Partnerships. I want to talk to the commissioners and the deputy mayors, not you and him, and and I think we've seen, particularly lately, a lot of partnership and a lot of really thoughtful programs, whether it's Rockefeller with a new opportunity, with Opportunity Youth, a very sizable opportunity, and connections to care and foster care, and really delving deep into kind of, I think, new areas along with our priorities. So I think some of that, kind of some of the success of the past 2 years is kind of taking shape now and coming to the table in really new, interesting projects and partners.
Yeah, I want to just echo what Gabrielle said, particularly in the field of mental health. There are not a lot of traditional donors in that area. I mean, it's not an area where we've got a long history of people donating because it's not a sexy topic.
Right.
We've been able to cultivate old donors to come to that space and also bring new people, get new interest in it.
I'll also say, and again, doing a little bit of self-bragging here, for the fund, for you and for the fund, it's what the efforts that you and Rich and others have put in, Dr. Belkin and Dr. Bassett, on mental health, is actually changing how healthcare funders are looking at mental health. It's remarkable how short a bench there was for mental health funds, specific mental health funders versus health folks funding healthcare in general or health initiatives, and our talking to them about the line you always use, you can't have any health without starting with mental health as sort of a base, is truly shifting how health funders are looking at mental health in their portfolio, which is pretty neat, pretty extraordinary. And actually, speaking to the size of portfolio, the next slide I think gives you a little bit of a frame of where some of our kind of just breakdown of where our funds raised this last year kind of grew. So. I think you see some heavy emphasis on some of our health and health-related actions, both in Action Health, that's our immigrant health project, and our Social Innovation Fund, both 1 and 2. And then you start to see some efforts around Center for Youth Employment, Mindy and CEO and Operations Data Access Project is taking on a sizable portion here. What this to me frames, though, and I think it's worth just noting for the board as we wrap up the year, is the Mayor's Fund is flexible in that we have our priorities set around youth workforce and mental health and supporting immigrant communities, but we remain this space that can almost take all comers. So we have agencies come to us all the time with a neat partnership that they've started to find. and they're asking us to help sort of foster that and facilitate that on their behalf. And so, so every year we kind of look back at this, or every couple months, and there are projects that maybe that sort of seem as an outlier. How'd that land on this pie when we have these three priorities? But to me, that's the power of what the Mayor's Fund can do on behalf of city agencies in the city. But still need to see. It's still something I think we all at the Mayor's Fund judge ourselves on and try to make sure that our priorities still get that lion's share of our attention.
And I would just add to that, what is not in money, but in when it comes to youth employment, we're overseeing the Center for Youth Employment, which is now, I think, up to 6 people, and secured 475 employers last year. So on top of the money, that work goes on, which I think is deep and impactful.
For sure. Well, it's culture change. It's both the youth employment and the mental health piece. How much of that is culture change among our business sectors? That government can't do it alone. We truly need your help with it. The last 2 charts that you'll see, again, just wanted to give everyone a sense of the types of contracts we're executing for work, who we're working with in terms of funding partners, in terms of agency partners. I think these always just give, I think, a neat, pretty efficient summary of the work, and gives you a sense of just how many partners we're working with in any given quarter or half a year. That's the second, and the last piece is just the grant agreements. So these are the funding agreements that we've had with partners. And Tom, to your point, I think both of these gives you sort of a good sense of who those funding partners are. Some of these have been, City Community Development's been there for years, prolific. Robin Hood's been there, prolific. Arcus Foundation was one that was a new partner to us this year. Alton's been there for years past. So
What's the very first one, CNCS and MF? What's that stand for?
So CNCS is the federal, is it?
White
Denver
House.
Corporation for National Community Service.
Oh,
AmeriCorps.
White House.
So that's AmeriCorps, and our Social Innovation Fund comes out of that federal agency.
Got it.
Yes. So the last thing I'll just spot, our agenda's had a conflict of interest form that we needed to complete right now. Maya and Henry and our team are just making sure we actually have the right forms for you, so that's not gonna be something we're gonna ask you to execute on today. If you've read it, it is 90% the same as what you will see hopefully in the next couple of days or next week or so, but we're gonna hold that off until we get the right forms in front of you. But it's something I just want to make sure everyone's aware of that you're required to do. With that, that's our last item of business. Let's see if there are any questions or comments or thoughts before we close. Terrific. Well then, Mindy, thank you again for joining us. It's terrific to have you on board.
I look forward to contributing.
Terrific. With that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Terrific. The meeting is closed. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.